Hello, how are you? Thank you for joining me today for a yin practice. Yin is one of my absolute favorite classes to teach. I love getting a little bit deeper into the poses. I love the feeling of holding them a little bit longer. I also love the challenge of getting out of your head for a little while and really syncing with the body. So I hope you're as excited for this class as I am. I'm going to invite you to come onto the mat and just make some space for yourself. So if there's stuff around you, even if a water bottle is super close by, maybe just move it off the mat a little bit. We're really going to be taking up all of the space this morning, or I guess this afternoon, whenever you're watching this. So for those of you that aren't familiar with a yin practice, essentially we get a little bit deeper into the poses by holding them a little bit longer than your average pose, certainly longer than your average flow class. So this is a class that's done all on the floor. There's no standing poses or postures. You don't necessarily need any props. However, if you'd like to have a blanket nearby, or maybe even a rolled up blanket or a pillow to support one of your legs, you're more than welcome to. But we'll just meet on our mats here in a cross-legged position if that's accessible for you. Please keep in mind throughout our practice today and all of our practices together that if anything at any time is pinching or you're feeling a shooting pain, that you're just gently going to back out, take a couple deep breaths. You can try to re-enter a little bit more moderately, or you can just wait till the next pose. So I welcome you to come onto your mat, taking some nice, deep, gentle breaths. Notice where the breath is landing, if it's in the very pit of the belly, or perhaps you're feeling a little bit more stressed, so it's higher in the chest. Becoming nice and comfortable, allowing the body to begin to melt. And as we check in with the breath, with the body, let's also check in with the mind. What is going on in the mind? Every few seconds, are you being drawn to a new thought or a new idea? And if just so, just see if you can just continuously bring it back to the breath, bring it back to the body, bring it back to your center. Wonderful. Great job, everyone, settling yourself. So I'm going to invite you to come onto your back here. Good. And we're just going to begin with a gentle windshield wiper of the legs. So the soles of the feet stay flat, and then they roll over onto the sides of the feet. The knees go side to side, releasing the lower back. Oh, nice pop through the lower back for me. Good. I'm just going to move my water bottle here. Good. Now your arms can stay alongside of the body. They can come out in more like a goddess arm or a cactus arm, or out in a straight T position. We're going to pull the knees up so that they're stacked over top of the hips. You might need to untuck the belly button a little bit. And then we're just going to drop the legs over to one side. Good. If you want to extend this stretch a little bit, you can always take your left hand onto the top of that outside of the right leg. And you can also take your gaze over towards the right thumb. We're going to stay here for a while. So just allow yourself to settle in. Allow yourself to melt. If you notice that your mind has begun to wander, just gently draw it back to the breath, to the body. Perhaps you're able to melt a little bit deeper. Perhaps that right shoulder can become closer to the floor. Or perhaps that right leg can melt itself a little bit more into the left. Just making note of any of these little changes. And we're just going to share 3 more breaths here together. Deep inhales. Wonderful. And if that left hand is on the outside of the right leg, just slowly releasing it and pulling them back up to center. Pull the seat back into the center of the mat. Good, and take any stretch that you need to here. Maybe windshield wipering those legs once again. And then when you're ready, drawing the knees and stacking them again over top of the hips, and then allowing the legs to fall over to the opposite side. Ideally, we want the knees continuing to stay in line with the hips and the ankles stacked underneath of the knees. If that's not accessible for you, just sort of play around, find your edge, and just settle in there. Again, if you want to take that right hand to the outside of the left leg or the left knee, just gently adding some additional pressure. And if you'd like, if it feels okay for your neck, taking the gaze over towards the left. Diving back into that breath, feeling the fullness of the breath. Feel all of the work that the breath is doing to loosen those hips, to release the hips. Sort of the midpoint, check in. How is everything feeling? Are you able to breathe a little bit more space into any of your joints? Are you able to soften anywhere else or lengthen anywhere else? And if your head is turned towards the left, drawing it back gently up to center, releasing your right hand. And then let's pull those legs back to center. Good. Giving yourself a nice big hug. So wrapping those arms around the legs. You're going to try to press the tailbone into the mat. Relax the shoulders. And perhaps find some movement here if that feels really great for you. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to make our way onto our front now. Good, all right. Taking those knees nice and wide, big toes come together-ish, and reach those arms out towards me. Fingers are flared, planting them down, and then just lowering the heart. You can rest the forehead onto the earth in front of you if that doesn't feel safe. If you like to be able to see what's going on around you, just resting the chin down. And we're just going to melt. I'm going to invite you to explore a little bit, staying exactly where you are. I'm going to invite you to explore where you can soften, where you can make some space and make some room. What else can melt? Can you drop the seat a tiny bit closer to the heels? Can you open up and lengthen through the back or through the ribs? Can your shoulders become heavier with each breath? Try to take any tension out of the neck or out of the arms. Part of yin is just the opportunity to really explore the vastness that's within our own body. Taking 2 more deep breaths here. Beautiful. And we'll just lift just enough that our fingers can tent themselves. And then we'll walk our hands over towards one side. Plant both of the palms down, and again, exhale and lower. You can inhale, lifting the heart and the head just enough to walk yourself over to that opposite side. Really stretch out. You want to continue to press the tailbone down, lengthen through the spine. Good, and just melt. Let's share 5 more breaths here. Brilliant. Begin to lift back up. I'm going to turn sideways here. Come, just moving nice and slowly. All right. Let's plant the hands, tuck the toes, and lift the seat up. Oh, big stretches here in our downward facing dog. You can rotate the shoulders inward. You can drop one heel at a time. You can shake the head, yes and no, or move the hips. Good. And whenever you are ready, we'll take that left knee towards the left wrist, settling down into that right hip. Take the hands nice and wide to begin. Sit up nice and tall. And then whenever you feel ready, begin to walk the hands away from the body, coming down into your pigeon. Now, if you have a blanket or a pillow nearby and you want to set it underneath of that left hip, please feel free to do so. You can also set it underneath of your head. and do what feels best for your head. So if you want to take the gaze down, if you want to stack the arms here and rest your forehead down, you can even just stack fists, whatever feels best and whatever allows you to find the ultimate place of comfort, knowing that we'll be here for a little bit. And once you find that right position for the hands, see if you can allow the rib cage to melt down towards the mat. Lengthen the tailbone, press it down towards that right heel, and the crown of the head reaches up and away from the hips. We'll stay here for 5 more breaths. What can you soften? Slowly begin to rise back up, planting the hands, maybe finding a little bit of movement through the shoulders. You can tuck that back toe, returning back into a downward facing dog and seeing how that feels here. Press the heart towards the thighs, shine the underarms out, plant the heels down if you're able. Oh, nice big crack. Good. And then we'll try our pigeon here on the opposite side. So the right knee comes towards that right wrist. Perhaps the right shin goes across parallel to the top of the mat. And if it doesn't, no worries at all. Good. Planting something under here if that feels best for you. And then very slowly beginning to lower. Softening what you can here. Exploring the space that you create through your breath work. And let's take 5 more breaths, yogi. Wonderful. We'll begin to lift ourselves back up, taking any stretch that you need to here, perhaps back to downward facing dog, or coming into a tabletop position, moving through some cat cows or side to side. Oh, good. All right. And we're going to come onto our backs here. This is going to be our very last pose of our yin practice. It's going to be cobbler's pose. So put your soles, the soles of your feet together. Yeah, and allow the knees just to fall out to the side. Tucking the shoulder blades underneath of the back. The palms can face up, the head can face up. Also, if you have done this pose before and you're comfortable doing so, if you have a towel or a blanket or a pillow and you want to pull it under the body, just in line with the spine lengthwise, and just allow the shoulder blades to sort of fold over on either side, please feel free to do that. Otherwise, let's just take a few deep breaths here. We're going to allow the knees to slide out to the side, closer to the floor. We'll make sure that that tailbone is untucked. The heart is expanding and opening. Perhaps you even want to tilt the head up a little bit more, opening and expanding through the throat, opening that throat chakra. We'll really focus here on the breath and on the softening. I invite you to stay here as long as you'd like, as long as you need. And I will rise. I'll keep my eyes closed. Hands are coming to my heart. Thank you all for joining me for our yin practice. If you'd like to re-watch the video at any point and press pause to stay in each posture a little bit longer, please feel free to do so. I hope that this extra space that you've created, when it does refill, is refilled with peace and love and kindness. And to each of you, I say, Namaste.